Good evening. We're so happy to have you here this evening. It is the Logan Lake Community Engagement, and you will see on your screen that we have started these meetings on October 16th with the Logan Lake Elementary Secondary Library being the location, and we had a PAC meeting. We've also shared preliminary information about what you're going to be talking about this evening with the board. And we've had Logan Lake staff feedback very briefly this evening. And now we are here with you, Logan Lake Parent and Community Webinar. And I say community because it could include staff and community members. We are joining you today, respectfully honoring and acknowledging that we are meeting from the unceded territory of the Secwepemc Nation, specifically Secwepemc and the territory of Tecumloops to Secwepemc people. And I respect and honor that all of you are coming from different locations. And I hope you are well this evening. We will start with introducing ourselves, and from left to right, I'll let John Blakely share his role and what he does at the school.
My name is John Blakely. I'm the vice principal for both the K-4 building and the 5-12 building.
Hi, I'm Ron Collins and the principal of, again, both the K-4 building in Logan Lake as well as the 5-7 building, and in my 8th year of my career up there.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Mattis, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Inclusive Education with the Kamloops Thompson School District.
Trustee McKelvey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kara McKelvey, and I am your school trustee for Logan Lake Elementary and Secondary. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Trustee McKelvey. And I'm Dr. Rhonda Nixon, and I'm the Superintendent of Schools. Also glad to be here this evening. So I thought I would share with you the purpose of coming together. It's to review the question about whether to move younger grades from Logan Lake Elementary Secondary location to Logan Lake Elementary School for the 2025-26 school year. And our goals here this evening are to listen to feedback and questions and to bring them back, analyze them, and be able to share them with you as parents, staff, and community members of Logan Lake. The outcome, of course, is that we are as a group sharing recommendations for a grade reconfiguration or not. A confirmation maybe will happen of the current grade reconfiguration at Logan Lake. And that's because we have an elected board of 9 elected trustees, and in board policy 2, it is the Board of Education who's responsible for catchment changes and grade reconfiguration. So our responsibility is to provide them with a recommendation after we consult. So the terms of reference really are that we're here to share information and recommendations that'll inform the board. But at this stage, I would say to you that we are really in a high confidence, safe space. You do need to be able to share what you feel and think. And we are at early stages of this process. So it is important for you to feel comfortable and to participate in these focus group conversations, knowing that our responsibility is eventually to support the board to make a motion, and based on what we would consider meaningful and authentic community engagement that truly seeks diverse perspectives and considers diversity as a resource. In this meeting, we do agree to remain respectful at all times, participate positively in the conversation, listen and hear all viewpoints with an open mind, honor individuals' rights to dignity and privacy, and these would be the meeting norms for the evening. So just a little bit of a sort of a framing in Administrative Procedure 135. This is where the reconfiguration of schools talks about 4 things that we need to really be clear about. Number 1 is the issue. Number 2 are the objectives and criteria. 3 are the options, and 4 is the process for engagement. So the issue under consideration is that a number of parents, and it really did begin from October 3rd to the 11th, expressed concern to me directly about grade 5 and 6 students attending Logan Lake Elementary Secondary School and asking for consideration of a grade reconfiguration where they wanted the kids to move to the elementary location for the 25-26 school year. And the objectives really are, when we receive things like this and people have varying perspectives, our job is to understand parents' concerns, especially because it came from parents initially about this current grade configuration at Logan Lake, and to determine the benefits and challenges of a grade reconfiguration. So if we move grade 5 and 6, what's the positive of that? What's the negative of that? What are your concerns? What are your insights? And to determine also whether there is operational feasibility to that. So you'll find that, we need to involve teachers and support staff members and all the people who work in the school, because they have really good questions about, well, if we did this, How would it work for staffing? How does it work for my FTE? How does it work? And those questions are really important because as you hear them as parents and community members, you'll start to gain insights about the feasibility. So the criteria is to truly address concerns, the concerns that are raised particularly from the parents who started the process about the current grade configuration of Logan Lake, to determine whether a grade configuration at Logan Lake will address concerns that were raised and to determine the operational feasibility as described. So what we're promising is to inform you on the left-hand side of the public spectrum of community engagement of what the issues are and also continually inform you about what we learn, to consult various groups, and to finally involve all of those perspectives in influencing a recommendation to the board. Who is engaging? Mainly it's parents and staff. We always start closest to the expressed concern. So it started with parents, and that's why we started with parents, and then we moved to staff. And we are fine to open it up to community members, but I will say that the two groups most affected are those two. We will host face-to-face meetings, Zoom and webinar meetings like this evening. And of course, you know already that October 23rd is our webinar. And when is the timeline for the decision to be made? It will be December. So how will parents and staff learn about results? Through the meetings that we have, emails, school communication. And once a decision goes to the board, the parents will be made fully aware of what that recommendation is and when it's going to the board and the reported results on email and schools' social media. So the proposed grade reconfiguration is that grade 5s move to the elementary school and grade 6 students move to the elementary school. That's the proposal from the parents. So we started with a PAC focus group, and it was October 16th from 5:30 to approximately 7:30. There were 19 parents, and you can see the group on the screen are the same as the group this evening. And 3 themes emerged. Out of that group, we were not interested in making a decision. We were interested in reporting to this group what seemed to come out as key themes. So number 1, I would say about a third of the room said that grade 5 and 6 should move to the elementary school. The reason is that younger students look up to older students who do not always behave well. And their perspective was keep them younger a little longer was a phrase that was stated, and it's one that kind of captured the feeling. There were better play opportunities at the elementary because it has a playground and the secondary location does not. There was an emphasis that there are rumors that people leave when children need to move to the secondary campus. People who were talking about those rumors in that group confirmed that, you know what, we can't always confirm them, but we live in a rural community and there are rumors nonetheless, and we believe that they impact things. And some kids miss out on K-4 activities and events when they're at the different building. There's a second group, grade 5 and 6 stay at the secondary school. And basically there were 3 themes. It's working out is what the one theme was. Parents said that their fears were alleviated when they witnessed positive interactions. So they had many of the same concerns as expressed by the group who wants to move, but they said that by witnessing it and living it, they felt things were going well. Parents also suggested peer leadership training, mentorship programs, cross-age buddies before the transition from the K-4 site to the other. And they said that that actually, if we continue to strengthen that, that will actually really help. Creating boundaries, different wings, different rules, different break times. And finally, the last group was an interesting group. They were split on which way to go, and they raised important considerations and insights. Number 1, they made the comment that it's often parents who have the anxiety and fears about anticipating the change. And naturally, you are the primary educators for your children. You care deeply about them. Of course, you would be the ones to have anxieties and fears. Number 2, they commented about transitions being hard. If we're going to make this move, let's not make it twice. Let's try to make it and then keep things the same for a bit. They emphasize separation, not segregation. Younger and older students benefit from being together, but we need structures. For example, different break times is one. And the last one came to us a little bit sideways from that group. It was a quiet parent who kind of came up and said, I have another comment I'd like to be taken seriously. She goes, because I never had a chance to say it. And she said, staff are loved. So if this results in staff changes, it would likely not be wanted by some. So the questions and answers I actually think are important for you to know, and I'll turn it over to our group if they want to add anything. But one of the questions was, would a move of students back to the elementary cause a decrease in programming that would be offered at secondary? So at this time, I will offer Principal Ron Collins if he would like to speak to these 2 points because he is the principal of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nixon. Like it says on the screen, it would likely not decrease opportunities for students remaining at the elementary secondary building as far as extracurricular activities. Except for the grade 6-7s who participate in intramurals at lunchtime and so on. It may not be supported at the elementary building, just depend on volunteers and so on for those programs. If the grade 5s and 6s moved to the elementary buildings, they're currently not offered there, but we may be able to offer them. So I can't really elaborate one way or another. But as far as curricular opportunities for our grade 5, 6, 7 students, classes each have one teacher plus their regular prep teacher. So it's not likely that those curricular opportunities would differ in any way. It may give us over the next 3 years, if enrollment stays the same, those grades would continue in the same structure and students would not lose out on curricular opportunities. That's not to say that if numbers did change, then we may have to make adjustments, split classes and so on, but that's just as time goes on, we will fill those in on a as needed basis. Okay, and another question that evolved was would a move of students back to the elementary cause a decrease in programming opportunities offered at the secondary schools? And currently, all of the elective, there are no elective new courses offered at the secondary campus because grade 5s and 6 students are located there this year. The only thing we have changed is that the prep teacher can change and offer applied ADST. We currently have a phys ed teacher, a trained secondary phys ed teacher that provides a prep coverage. So they do have a specialized teacher for PE this year. And it really just comes down to staffing and what we need for staffing requirements for our secondary staff. The other question that came up would a move of students back to the elementary school or back to the elementary campus cause a decrease in programming opportunities offered at the secondary school? If they did move back the 5 and 6s or the 5s this year and 6s next year, whatever the decision comes, if we do make a decision that way, the students would attend the elementary campus next year. There's a potential of offering combined classes if enrollment changes. For example, if a few students moved out of one grade and there was an increase of students in another grade, it may be possible to create combined classes. So again, it's a split class issue depending on class size and composition and so on. This may happen at the secondary level as well, even if the students did stay there. It all depends on the number of students in each grade and the composition. If enrollment declined at the secondary level in grades 7 to 12, then there's potential of the course offerings changing, but this would not impact our grade 5s and 6s staying or leaving either way. Will the number of combined classes increase if we move grade 5, 6 students back to the elementary school? And again, it would vary from year to year depending on the number of students who have diverse needs in each grade level and the number of students in each grade. It will give us greater flexibility at the elementary to accommodate class size and composition by allowing us to create combined classes. However, it would hamper our ability with only one elementary grade at the elementary secondary building to accommodate changes in class size and composition. So by having 3 grades together at the secondary, it's a little easier for us. But it would make it difficult for one grade, but easier if we had K to 6 at the other building. For instance, if we had over 29 students and or over the three low incident students, we would require 2 classes as we can't really accommodate more than that. Would moving the elementary students back cause the secondary school to eventually close? This is a question that came up as well. Quite often we've heard this. And if the enrollment declined in grade 7s to 12, then it may happen that we need to be cautious as a potential for a closure. We've worked hard as a team at the secondary building over the past many years to assist students in programming to meet their needs and passions and interests, which we've managed to retain many of the students from moving into town, and others we've noticed a large increase in homeschooling students coming back to join us at our secondary campus. Would moving the elementary students back cause the secondary school to eventually close? So there's some stats here that Dr. Nixon put together for us. So you can see that at the secondary building, if it stayed as status quo as it is right now, our projected number for this year was 167, which is pretty well, we're almost on that target. I think we're actually at 170. We have approximately 50 students in our grade 5 and 6 cohorts. So if we took those students out, the other building would move up to approximately 165 and so on. But if you look at the 10-year outlook, it doesn't change much over the 10 years. So from 2023 down to 2033, it does have a little bit of an increase and then it declines a little bit, but still staying fairly constant at 177 projected for 233. Would there be equity in space available for student learning? We currently have approximately 120 students in the smallest building, the elementary building, and 170 students in the largest building. If we were to move the grade 5 and 6 students, like I mentioned before, to the K-4 building, the capacity utilization would be approximately 58%. The capacity up there is 261. And that would be acceptable, but there would be less accessible space than we have now. We have a preschool in one classroom, another classroom that has been converted over into a snack shack / cafeteria in a common area. And they would still have access to an LART sensory room and AEW room, which we currently have.
Thank you very much, Principal Collins. And so the prompts for your discussion this evening are: what are the strengths of what you've heard so far for a proposed grade reconfiguration? So remembering that the parents had been interested who initially approached us about moving grade 5 and 6 students back to the secondary school. So what are the strengths of that proposal? And what are your questions or concerns, and perhaps just even your insights with this? So what happens now is you will be able to offer any of those questions or thoughts in the chat, and we will listen. And if we as panelists can answer, we will see your questions as they emerge in the chat, and one of us will provide an answer. If we feel we can't do it justice at this time, then we will not answer, but we will provide you with where you can find the answer, and we will do that after we're done listening. Thank you.
Can I jump in?
Hi, everyone. Just to jump in here, you can put your questions and comments in the section along the bottom titled Q&A.
So the question is, what happens if we do the switch and the numbers change? Would we lose the high school? So what we know right now is that the numbers have stayed quite stable. And so if that change, if we consult properly, the hope would be that we would actually not lose the enrollment because people would be happy with the change. But as Principal Collins had shared, at any time, if enrollment goes down, we always have to consider that possibility, because if the enrollment goes down, we would never try to close any school in a rural area. It's a last resort for trustees, and especially Trustee McKelvey. I would say that would not be the first solution, but of course, we wouldn't want to actually make the change if we thought that it would prompt that. Thank you. There was a comment made about, I sent my first email to the school district email. I will tell you that when you are emailing a school district trustee or the superintendent, we do have someone who moderates our email. So it's nice that you have this direct connection to the school principal. You also have a direct connection to us. And so we do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. I know that I received probably, I don't know if it was about 10 within 24 hours, and I got back to most people. But it's very true that if you're using our generic email, we have a moderator who goes to that email and checks it every couple of days. So using our direct emails, and in fact, we're going to give you a way to communicate with us too at the end of this presentation, so you won't have any wait time. Well, I shouldn't say that. We are human, so you do have wait time, but you won't have excessive wait time because we won't be dependent upon moderation. Thank you. So I'll just read this one out. I've been asked a lot about the survey by people who couldn't attend tonight. How much will it be taken into account in this decision? Excellent, Anne. Excellent question. So I'll tell you what we've done, and you're going to be quite happy, I think, about this. We will make a space, and we've already got it all ready to go. So your people who could not come tonight, your friends and anyone else who couldn't come, will be able to watch the webinar and do the survey. We also are going to report back the results, and if it's quite unclear to us where the results land, we would have no hesitation to offer a little more explanation and then put the survey out again. So that's why we're giving us until December as a timeline, but that will be helpful to your friends and or staff members. Okay, a comment. My comment relates to having grade 5 and 6 students remain at the secondary school. The idea of separating breaks and lunches can be challenging with respect to having enough supervision. How might this be addressed? That's best for Principal Collins.
So as far as addressing the issue that one of our spectators brought up about separating breaks and lunches can be challenging with respect to having enough supervision, how might this be addressed? We did do it during the time of COVID. We had separate breaks and so on. What it means is we end up having our CEAs or parent volunteers come in or paid supervisors come in at lunchtime to do the supervision. So we would have to look at a model, something like that again, in order to address it.
That's lovely. When you put out the survey, is there an area where parents tend to be leaning towards? That's a very good question. We have a lot of people doing the survey, so we stopped looking at it because it was distracting. Quite honestly, we wanted to offer the webinar and make sure we didn't get influenced. So no, there wasn't a leaning at that point. I mean, it was kind of split. But as you saw in the responses, even from the brief little focus group we had with 19 parents, there were diverse perspectives. And that I started to see that when we were looking. And then, as I said, when we have a survey like that, we try to give it its deadline, which is October 26th, so that we don't get too influenced. Thank you. For the people who did not receive the survey, where can they get it from? We will be showing you on this webinar a link that is going to be on the school website live. I believe it already is, where they can get the survey right now. And we'll show you the screenshot so you can see exactly how to navigate the website and get a hold of the survey. And certainly we can get, we did send a parent email out and we sent it to all the staff, but we can certainly resend if there's a desire for that. I just think you'll be happy when you see how easy it is to access. Hello. So one of the questions was, how many participants are in this meeting? And I can tell you there are 15. And do we have a minimum number of community participants for the proposal to be considered? I think what we have is a number of opportunities where we don't have a minimum number, but we have the minimum critical mass, which is when we offer different ways to consult. We hope that through that, we get enough involvement. Now, if we had very little involvement, we wouldn't make a decision based on a very small percentage of parents or a small percentage of staff. And that's why we got together even virtually with the whole staff. We started with a small focus group of parents. Now we're doing this work here. We have a survey. So we'll gather through multiple ways. And I will say too, I will rely on Principal Collins to be able to, and Vice Principal Blakely to be able to say to me, you know what, I think we're good. I think we've talked to most parents, we've reached out, because we want to saturate the opportunities. We don't want to rush people so they feel like they missed out. But we'll saturate the opportunities, but also I do believe it's necessary to have a timeline so people know when a decision will be made. And I guess that would be my answer, the number of different ways. Okay, so the question is, will we keep the kids who are already currently in the high school, or will they be moved back to the elementary school? My kids are upset about the idea of transferring back. Well, what you're expressing is a really good insight that we have some options, because certainly if enough people said, you know what, we actually would like the idea that the kids stay, they don't have to move back, but rather we just simply keep the grade 4s who are there now until grade 5, and then the grade 5s and grade 6, and we don't move kids back. That's one insight or idea that if it becomes important and it starts to show in the data, we would actually just include it in another survey and say, all right, this idea came up. What do you think? So thank you. Okay, so really wonderful question and an important one. If grade 5-6 students return to the elementary school, what is the process regarding existing grade 5-6 teachers? In the collective agreement, there's what's called post and fill language, but what happens in these circumstances is I would involve human resources and a meeting with the KTTA executive and look at alternatives that they might be able to support. There is an intention whenever we have unique consultation to work closely with our employee group executive. We have an excellent relationship with them, and just asking them what our options are from their perspective. And we would then let you know. So that's not a clear answer, because if I follow the collective agreement exactly, then I wouldn't be able to answer it because it would be post and fill. But in these situations, we take time, consult with the KTTA, consult with human resources, and see what options we can present back to staff. Thank you. You are absolutely, oh, sorry. I feel like I'm talking to you while reading questions. Are we allowed to ask what the opinions of the staff are on this matter? You know, I think the best way to say it is we're very transparent about our consolidation of data. And so we certainly would want staff and staff perspectives to be made very clear. But what we did this evening is we actually had about 45 minutes with staff, and they expressed a lot of opinions and thoughts. So that would be consolidated along with whatever comes out of this evening and the survey, and you would be very clear to know where staff opinions rest. Oh, thank you. So one of the questions is slightly different. So will this impact our teachers or staff in any way? I'll answer that first part. It could impact teachers and staff, because if we move 2 grade levels back to the elementary, then of course we would have to have a process to be able to see how we could offer those positions to those teachers, or whether they could simply move to another location. So I will have to get back to you on that from HR and KTTA. And the second question was, what's the worst case scenario for this change? My worry is that it will affect what we already have in place, and I don't want it to be hard on our teachers or our students. I think when I ask HR and KTTA what the answer is to that question, it's better than saying what the worst case scenario is, because the worst case scenario is obviously if I tell you that there's no control at all. Nobody likes to hear that, where it's post and fill and there's no control at all. So I think I need to ask the question of our KTTA and human resources, get back to you, and not paint the worst case scenario, because that's never the goal in these kinds of situations. So we will get that answer back to you. Thank you. Will there be another meeting after this one, or just families filling out the forms after reviewing? And will you let us know in December? There will not. So right now, I didn't book a second webinar. So it would be dependent upon, here's how we will go, and we'll show you a timeline. We will be consolidating this information, sending it out through the school principal, sending it out to you directly in terms of the themes that we've looked at, as well as inviting people to continue the survey until the 26th. So in order to consolidate that information, if we have a pretty good sense that we have a lot of parents who have answered, we have had a lot of engagement, then we would come back to the parent group and the staff and say, here's what we have. Does this represent what you're hearing? Does this make sense to you? Do you think we need another consultation? Because usually the people who care the most are the ones who will say, that sounds right. Like, this amount of data and what you've collected and what's happening is good. And also the principal and vice principal will have a good sense. So we will have to, if there's a feeling that we haven't quite finished, we will have another meeting. But at this stage, no, I didn't plan another webinar. And yes, we would let you know by December. And we'd let you know before we went to the board meeting. So you could watch the board meeting. It's always interesting to watch public debate. And I say that wholeheartedly. So thank you. Would the idea of leaving the grade 5 and 6 students at the school for this year and start a transition next year impact the timeline of a decision for December? Well, I think what you're doing, let's say the biggest theme is that there doesn't want to be a movement, and the idea is we do want movement, but not this year, that would just be a finding, and the board would actually pass a motion that would indicate that that's the wish, that the grade reconfiguration would happen at a different time. But that's a very novel idea. I like your idea, maybe it's not your idea, but you're asking if it could happen. When insights come through the data, we do ask people's opinion on them. So if someone said, look, I think we shouldn't do this till next year for these 5 reasons, we would then share that and get it and make that part of the analysis, so that people could then answer a question about it. So that's the best I've got on that one. I really appreciate this. So my children are not yet in the school system. But this is a concern of mine and leading up into entering school, looking at the survey, I don't have an option to respond. As the first question asks what grade my children are in, how should I proceed with the survey? Is it only for parents of children currently within the system? I think actually where you could put your, you could put your opinion and your feedback would be, I was just going to say, I'm looking at the communications director. I believe that there is the feedback. There's a,
Email the feedback.
I think that's good. And also we can adjust the survey, but I'm going to let you answer that because I want you know clearly how to state that.
So a little bit of later in the presentation, we're going to show you the webpage where the survey link is. And on that webpage, there is an option to submit feedback via email. So you are welcome to submit your feedback that way as well.
So we will make sure that we share that. We actually have nice screenshots of where to go, but I also think it's fine to adjust the survey so I can look at how to do that. I just need to make sure the privacy impact officer designate agrees that I can do that. So it's a little bit tricky. I just need to make sure that I can post and repost and not lose the data, but I will see if I can do that. But please, if you do not have children and you want to answer the survey, just use that feedback piece that we give you the email, and you will be able to give your opinion on this matter. I just have a comment made by Trustee McKelvey. I think it's worth sharing that there was one attempt, one person maybe on this call, or maybe one of your friends emailed Trustee McKelvey on September 23rd, and she responded, but it is a bounce back because it's a reply all email. I have made that mistake myself. It is a reply all email, and she actually sent me screenshots. She feels really bad. Trustee McKelvey is always on top of her communication, so I understand that can happen. So sorry if you did have a problem. Thank you so much for the question. We have a survey that has, it allows you to have a response. You are anonymous, and through the privacy designate, we will not have duplicate entries. But again, I want you to know that this initial survey is just to get all the themes and make sure we're clear. And then after consolidating all the information, there would be one more survey that would go out. So it's not like this is your last opportunity. The intention of this first one was really to get all the insights, the questions, and the themes, not make a decision. So I don't want you to feel like that's the purpose of this survey. Actually wasn't. It was to make sure we got a really good, clear picture of what some of the big ideas are and also what other questions we need to ask. So thank you. I think this is really important. How should families who have left the community due to the secondary school starting at grade 5 let you know? I've heard from more families since the last community consultation meeting stating that is why they moved. I would be very pleased to know that if you could direct them to either, if they're comfortable emailing their principal directly. I mean, I know my email I can give and I'm happy to answer, but I actually think it would be good for Ron Collins to know. But the other thing is, you will see a way to submit feedback when we go to the end of the presentation. And I'm pointing to Chelsea so you can see her. And I know you can only get a little tiny picture of us, but she will walk you through that piece. And so please have them do that. And you can also send it to that email as well. Okay, this is probably for Principal Collins. So can you clarify of the grade 5 and 6s, if the grade 5 and can you clarify if the grade 5 and 6s move back that we would lose the preschool lunchroom or another room? Can you clarify if we would lose one of those?
We would have to look at the configuration of the building right now. We obviously wouldn't want to lose the preschool. They're our feeder for our kindergartens in the building, so we definitely would keep them in the building. We'd have to look at other spaces. Maybe it's a matter of moving the lunchroom to a different area or whatever, or a different room, but we would definitely have to make room in that building for the 5, 6s to come back.
So far, we have addressed all the questions that have been added to the Q&A. If anyone has any final questions, we'll just give it a minute or two longer. So please add them to the Q&A now.
There's a comment, a good comment, and I'll read it. And it's another great insight. And these are the kinds of examples of what we want to be able to collect. There seems to be some concern in the community about the safety of such young children being with older children. If grade 5, 6 doesn't seem feasible to keep back, could we just keep back the grade 5 class for next year? The answer is that is absolutely a possibility because this is a consultation to find out your ideas and insights, which we can test out afterwards. So yes, thank you for sharing. That's a possibility. Same exact idea, but just to honor it, Comment as a parent of a child going into grade 5 next year, would it be possible to look at just grade 5s? The answer is yes. If we receive enough and that's a theme, then we will ask the question and we'll put out the options. Is there actually room available? What if moving forward we have an increase in elementary grades? I'm going to give that one to Principal Collins.
Okay, so like Dr. Nixon said, is there actually room available? What if moving forward we have an increase in elementary grades? As the one slide showed earlier, the capacity of the elementary building is 200, and I think it was 61 that showed on the chart. I'm not sure when that number was developed, but there has been changes to the building and so on since I think that time. I know we currently have probably 2 classrooms that can be accommodated. If the numbers keep increasing from that, we would have to look at the building and see if we can move something back, change some dynamics of the building and so on. But we could probably make it work.
That's very nice. From Jen's iPhone. I appreciate the time and effort that it takes to do this and want to thank everyone. That's nice. All right. This is a comment. I would like to say it was very hard emotionally as a parent to have my child move to a high school in grade 5, but I would have to say that the transition was not that bad with high school child and my child, with the high school child and my child, and the older kids actually have been there for my child. Well, thank you. Okay, so I just want to share with you that in this meeting, we did promise you that we would tell you where you could have an opportunity to look at feedback. So when you go to Logan Lake's website, you click on the what's happening and /news, and then you'll see a little community consultation icon. And in there, you will have everything that you would want. You will have the link to the letter that was sent to staff and to parents. You will have a click here to look at a recording of the webinar. You will have a click here to take part in the survey until October 26th. And then we will have frequently asked questions that we will take from tonight and also some others that we've received with answers that get posted. And then the timeline to make a decision. You will see alterations, like let's say we think there's a need to put out another survey because we get all of these really good ideas, which we're already getting. Then we would put out another survey, but we give you lots of warning, lots of opportunity to do it. And then there's a tiny little, if you look at the bottom, it says, if you have questions or comments, please email. This feedback is a generic email, but Director Eisner checks it and we will get through there. Like, so you don't have to feel like, you have to find someone to email. You can email there as well. Did you have anything to add, Director Eisner?
I will also flag that a link to this community consultation page is on the homepage banners of both Logan Lake School websites. So you'll see a big image when you land on the website that says join the conversation. And if you click there, it'll also take you to this page.
All right, so the timeline, as I said, is we started on October 16th. We gave feedback to the board in camera. We emailed parents and staff actually the same day. And then the 23rd, we had a staff meeting consultation, which is today. There's been a webinar. There'll be survey responses and as well an in-camera meeting on the 4th to let the board know what's happening and how it's going. Sending feedback and key themes to all of you, parents, staff, and if necessary, provide a further request, as I said, for feedback or consultation, which might look like another survey. I get the feeling that with all of these good ideas, that's very likely. And then November 21st, in-camera board meeting. Just a reminder that it is the board who makes the decision, so we do it in camera so that they can ask questions, they can offer feedback. They ask us hard things, and so sometimes, we come back to you and say, the board's a bit worried about this, or, they have a question, so that's good. Then November 22nd to December 1st, I do think we need to get back together with focus groups face-to-face and or by webinar and find out, or just a Zoom call like today with staff and find out how they are. And then December 9th, the board reviews the recommendation and approves or not. I mean, it may turn out that we find out that the original recommendation has changed quite a bit and maybe there's a delay. Who knows what the findings will be because we don't do consultation knowing ahead. And then if we feel in that time frame, Oh, yes, and staff and parents, always. Staff, parents, and anyone who has been talked with today, you will have access to all of this. So communication will go to the Logan Lake parents and staff. And then if I feel and the board feels and you're sort of indicating, look, we need a little bit longer, there's no panic. There's no problem. We could just extend it into January. I just think it's good to have deadlines to things. It makes people very anxious if they don't. And by January, we really should be following up and finishing and getting going with the operational aspects. And when I say that, it's all the things you'll bring up that, well, how are we going to get the books there? Do we need different desks? All those things will come up, and believe believe you me, it is actually quite important that we get it right. Also, there's like some other things that have been suggested, maybe peer leadership or training. Those things need time to be put in place. We're so very happy that you came today. We know you're very busy families and very busy staff. So thank you, and thank you, Trustee McKelvey as well. And thank you to Vice Principal John Blakely, as well as to Ron Collins and to Michelle Mattis, Dana Heyman, who is here, Executive Manager Kira Wood, who is here supporting us, Website Master, and also Director Chelsea Eisner and Wayne Panette, who is our tech specialist. And I now know a lot of you, and I appreciate all of you. I feel like I have a sense of who you are in Logan Lake. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.